So I have a big problem in my survival world. I have made many structures like my mob farm, my iron farm, and also my villager trading hall. But a lot of you guys are pointing out something very important. The problem in my world right now is that the landscape around all of the buildings that are built don't really fit with the buildings themselves. Now, I've been avoiding this problem because honestly, I don't find it as enjoyable terraforming and making paths. However, it has to be done at some point. So against my will, let's do some damage. The first agenda for today is to connect both sides of the river, and of course to do that we need a bridge. I think this spot is pretty decent, so I'll quickly build across. Okay, that's the flat part of the bridge done. I think I'll quickly terraform this area just so the bridge isn't floating. That's a lot better. Now that the bridge is flush with the ground, let's move on to making it look a bit better. First things first, I don't want the bridge to be flat, so I think I'll make a little hump in the middle here. Okay, that's looking a lot better now, so I think I'll try to start making a railing on each side, just on the edges so we don't fall off when we're going on the bridge. For the railing pattern, I'm thinking of having just maybe upside down oak logs here. And then once we reach the middle, we can kind of make it go up like this. And then do the same on the other side. Then we can have like slabs going along here to connect the two sides. For the actual railing itself, we could start with maybe some sandstone stairs, and then we can alternate between sandstone walls and stripped oak logs. And I think that'll give a bit more color in terms of the railing. I think for the center here, we need some source of light. So I think what I'll do is I'll put a sea lantern here, and then maybe I'll surround it with sandstone stairs, and then just some walls here, like so. That's pretty decent. Let's have a look from a distance. Yeah, I think that's taking shape. It does look like it's floating a little bit too much. So I think what I'll do is I'll add pillars down here. Maybe two, one on each side, just so it looks a bit more natural. Alrighty. Yeah, that's definitely looking a lot better now. However, I think what I need is a little bit of texturing on these here. So maybe I'll just add a couple of these blocks every so often. That's a little bit nicer, I think. I'm not 100% sure how the texturing looks with the pillars because they're a bit too thin. But I think I'll also texture the bridge itself here. Yeah, that's made the bridge a little bit more nicer now. So what I think I'll do is I'll copy this side onto the other side as well. Okay, the bridge looks pretty good so far, but it definitely needs some sort of roof on it because it does look a bit too flat. I think to start off with, we'll build some pillars upwards just to gauge an idea on how tall we want this roof to go. Yeah, I think that's tall enough. I think any taller, it will just make it look a bit too weird and lopsided. So for the roof itself, I'm thinking a warped slab roof with a birch slab trim around it. So I'm not sure how this will end up looking, but I'm just gonna build it anyway and see how it turns out. And that's the roof made. That's looking 10 times better with the roof, I think. But I think what we're missing now is a bit of lighting on this. So let's add some lanterns. So I'm just gonna place some lanterns around the area. So I think we can place some over here, for example. And then maybe we could have these go inwards, and then a lantern can be placed up there, like so. And then we could probably make these connect. Yep, that looks a lot better. Let's do the same for these other ones. There we go. And I think that's the bridge all done now. I think we'll do a little fly around to see how it looks from a distance. I think that fits pretty well with the theme of the area. The next step to increasing our property value around our base is to deal with the area around my villager trading hall. Mainly because it's the biggest build I have made so far, and I need to blend it in better with its surroundings. There were a lot of suggestions in the previous video about this, but the one that stood out to me the most was making a garden, so let's go with that. So to start off, I began by making the border of the area that the garden is going to be encompassed in. I then made a gravel path around the whole perimeter and bone milled the ground for some greenery. At this point, I started working on the first corner. I started with making a water duct that dispensed water into a little creek. Flowers were then planted, then a bench, a boulder and a tree was added to make the scene more lively and detailed. The final touch I added was a bridge over the water where the gravel path intersected with the water. On to the next garden. In this corner, I decided to go with a fountain being the main attraction to the garden. I wrapped the gravel path around the fountain and decided to add flowers and lanterns similar to the last corner. I then finished up by making the other two corners. There were a duplicate of the other two corners already made with the creek and the fountain, so nothing noteworthy. And there we have it. The garden is complete and it makes the building a little bit more blended in with its surroundings, which is a tick in my books. But for the grand finale, it's time to connect everything with paths. So let's get into it. Getting the rough layout of the routes is probably the best thing to do, so I'll quickly mock it up using path blocks here. And I'll probably flatten out the area over there just because it's a bit too rough and it won't look nice with the roads. So this is the shape that the paths will follow. I've tried to not have too many sections where it's too straight, so as you notice there's a lot of curving and bending around, which makes it not look too boring. Next up is actually building the paths up. So I'm thinking of using a block palette similar to the bridge we made. So cobbled deep slate is what I'm thinking, with deep slate tiles mixed in as well. Then I really want the road to pop out, so I also want to add in a oak plank outline, like so. And I think it's a pretty good transition color from the deep slate to the grass because it contrasts well with both blocks. But yeah, let's just build it all out and follow the outline that we've made. Now that has turned out really nice, but of course it's not enough. I need to add a few more details around the paths so that it will look a bit more refined and finished. First thing I'm thinking of adding is maybe some type of campfire around this area here. So what I'll do is I'll probably put stairs like this and maybe a campfire in the middle there and a cauldron filled with water, so it kind of looks like we're cooking the water. Next up, I want to add a bit of shrubbery and greenery here, so I'll bone meal the area like so. And then I kind of want to add a few leaves around here, just to make it look a bit more natural, like so. And maybe flowers around the area as well. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So next thing I want to do is actually kind of light up the path. So I'm thinking maybe we can have a few lamp posts around the area. I'm going to keep the design simple for this one. So I'm probably going to do a log and then maybe go 4 up like so. And then hanging off that is going to be a lantern. And that's as simple as it gets, but I think it fits really well with the theme and the color of the path itself. So I want to put that in a few places. Those added lampposts make it a lot more cozy, and I've sprinkled them every so often. The next type of lighting that I want to add is mainly just leaves like this, and fence posts, just a piece of lantern like that. Every so often, I might also add in barrels with a cobblestone wall connected next to it, and it just kind of looks like a random feel, like someone has set up a storage area in the middle of nowhere, so yeah. Okay, another type of lighting design that I have had in mind was kind of placing cobblestone around the area, like some boulders in places, and also a lantern on it as well. The Next thing I'm thinking of is kind of like a pile of logs in the ground being stored. And maybe they're being bundled together using some type of rope like this. And yeah, I think that looks pretty decent, and we'll chuck some light source on it as well. The final thing that will bring everything together is just some greenery, so some bushes and some tall flowers placed around the area. So I'll quickly do that everywhere, and yeah, we'll see how it looks at the end. And that's the final product. It all actually looks really good. I'm actually really proud of myself with this. I usually don't make paths and put a lot of detail into them, but the fact that I was able to sprinkle some details here and there made it a lot more better. And it also fits really well with all the flowers around the village of Trading Hall, which was my main priority because it was the biggest building and it looked the most bland in terms of the surrounding. But yeah, that's everything all done. As usual, thanks for sticking around up to this point. I'm going to start doing a comment of the day. The question asked quite often is, can you make a world download? My answer to that is, I don't have any plans to give out the world just yet because I want its release to be special, so I want to wait for when I hit a big milestone, then release it. Something like a reward for sticking with me. So if you really want that to happen sooner, like and subscribe. But if you guys really don't want to wait and want it that badly, I'll maybe compromise a bit and release the world if we hit 100 likes on this episode. Yeah, I know it's gatekeeping my world, but it's a compromise I'm willing to make since I'm really hesitant to release it. But I know that you guys would love to run around and explore the world that I build in. Anyway, just a quick update on the villager trading hall that I made in the last episode. I started to add a few villages in the areas, but I didn't really get too much time between this episode and the last episode to grind it out, but I'll probably keep doing that off camera every so often just so I have the best trades possible. Like these ones here, they let me trade iron into emeralds, which is great. But yeah, thanks for watching as usual, and I'll see you next time. If you like this video, feel free to check out this one as well.